Today I am going to review the Pocket Rocket 2 MSR camp stove that I have here. If you know me and you watch my main channel, you know that I go camping all of the time and I have been using this stove for years. I'm going to share with you the pros and cons of this stove, what I think is the best use case for this product, and also if I would buy it again. Today I am reviewing this product, and in my next video I'm going to be reviewing the Jetboil camp stove, so make sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to see that video. The first pro of this product is that it is small. That just makes it a lot easier to pack and bring with places. It fits in this small little case. It folds up nicely, like completely folds down, all of these pieces do, and it makes it even smaller. I think that is great for camping, backpacking, especially if you have a small pack that you want to put all of your things in. That lends itself to the next pro of this product, that it's lightweight. This thing weighs almost nothing, super easy to bring, and even the stove fuel that you use for this, you use isobutane. You can get tiny little stove canisters for packing. This isn't even the smallest one, or you can get bigger ones. So the fuel that you use and the stove itself can pack down super tiny for your cook system. It's also very simple to use. So in order to use it, you bring these wings out. Make sure this is closed because you can open this. That's how you adjust the fuel. So I always make sure righty-tighty all the way closed, and then you put this on the fuel tank. You turn this to open the fuel up so that it's running. You'll be able to hear the gas going, and then you light the flame up here with a lighter or a match. Super easy. You put your pot or pan on top of here. You use this twisty little gauge to make the fuel go faster, so a bigger flame, or tone the fuel down, so a smaller flame. Super simple to use. There's not an easier stove in my opinion. This stove is also reliable. I have never had an issue with this stove working. It has even gotten wet and still worked, and I was kind of unsure if it would work. I think if you get water like in the top here, that might be an issue. And also there's a case, so even when it gets wet, it's not super wet. It's got little holes in the bottom to make sure that it can breathe. So I've had it get a little bit damp before or let it sit out when it rained, and it's always worked right away. It's also like a fair price. It's $50 or about $50 to buy one of these, and it's not super cheap, but also for a camp stove, that's not that bad. And because this has lasted me years and I've never had an issue, I do kind of think the price is worth it. Finally, my last pro that I'm going to talk about is this little gauge here. So like I said, you twist it to adjust the fuel, and it adjusts super easily. You can like barely turn it just like a little bit. You can really dial in that flame how you want the flame to be. Super easy to adjust for a quick cook or a slower kind of simmer. Now I'm going to talk about the cons of the product. So the biggest con in my opinion is this thing does not do great in wind. You kind of have to find a little tucked away area. It just doesn't work well. Either the flame goes out or the heat doesn't heat up your pot or pan very quickly because it's like all the heat is blowing away. There's no structure to protect it from the wind, which is kind of the give and take with it being so lightweight and so small. Therefore, there's not a lot of protection from wind. Depending on where you're going, you'll have to think about that. If it's super windy, you might have to find a place to cook that's a little bit more tucked away, or use your body to kind of shield it so that you're not just being completely inefficient while cooking or like unable to keep the flame going. The next con of this product is you need to bring a fire source, a flame source. In here, I keep matches and a lighter. There are stoves out there that have like a little button you can push that ignites it itself, so it's like you don't have to pack something else to start the flame. I wish I would have gotten the version that has the little flame starter. That's a con, but as long as you're not going to forget your matches and your lighter, no big deal. I've never forgotten yet. The other thing is that when these things are connected, this can be kind of a tall setup to put like boiling water or a fry pan on, and you really have to be careful for balancing your hot pans and pots on here. These wings are not super wide, so if you have a small pot or pan, it's usually okay. If you have something big, it can be pretty tricky to balance, especially because usually when I'm using this, I'm in the outdoors and I do not have a table or a flat surface, so I kind of have to like dig the thing into the ground a little bit and get it pretty sturdy before I start cooking. Finally, this is something that is a minor con in my opinion, but it also is like a thing. The flame area, the heat source is so small that if you put a big pot or pan on here, or even a small one, you kind of get hot spots. You get one spot in the middle that's going to be hotter than everywhere else, so you really have to stir. I tend to burn things if I don't stir it enough because it's so hot right here. It's not like there's a big flame source. So with the pros and cons, with that all being said, I think the best use case for this product is if you are going backpacking or hiking and want something super lightweight and small. I think it's great for using on solo trips or small groups because you can put smaller pots and pans on here easily, or a big group that is using only like freeze-dried meals as your food source. So if you're going to be boiling water for freeze-dried meals, this is probably fine. However, if you are going to have a big group and want to use bigger pots and pans or make like big meals, then this maybe isn't the best use case. So would I buy this again? I would buy this again. I would use this again for small groups, great. For solo trips, which I do, then I would use this perfectly fine, super great, super lightweight. I love that. And even if I'm going with a big group, sometimes it's nice to have a small little stove just to be able to make your quick coffee or make some warm hot cocoa or some quick snack while the big stove is being used for making an actual meal or frying fish. A lot of times it's nice to have two little burners, and this is good for the smaller option, like the ramen snack or the coffee or the hot cocoa, like I said. So I would buy this again. I would just be cognizant of the best use case for this. There's a fly flying around. So that is the MSR cook stove, the Pocket Rocket 2. And like I said, next video, I am going to be reviewing the jet boil stove, so make sure you come back and check that out. I just wanted to come outside quick and give you a little show of how to use this. I obviously wasn't going to light it inside because I don't need to run a stove like this in my house, although we have used it in the camper before. You're not supposed to do that. Okay, we've got it all set up. Like I said, you'll be able to hear it when the stove is running, or like when the fuel is coming through. So you could hear that even though it wasn't running. So you want to make sure your lighter works. And then I just turn it really slowly and it's lit. You can't see it necessarily, but you can hear it. And that's because the flame is inside this part right here. So it does have a little bit of wind protection, but it's just not enough when it's a super windy day. But it's great for how small it is, for how compact it is. I think it's a pretty good design. Hi, Colt. Lay down. Colt, lay down. You gotta lay down. Lay down. Lay down.